All right, in tonight's class, I would like to review some commands you've seen me use, but I haven't given you explicit instructions in how to use them. Things like erase, move, undo, trim, extend, zoom, and a few other things. I call them the housekeeping commands. Let's start with erase. It's obviously a very important command, which you'll use many times in the course of generating your drawings. You have to get rid of things for whatever reason. And again, AutoCAD allows you a number of ways to perform most of these functions, but I'm going to try and stick to the toolbars or the menu system. So you'll notice a big X in, I believe it's the standard, the standard toolbar at the top of your screen. When you open Carlson, even running on AutoCAD, there should be an icon that looks like this in about the same place. You would select the X, then you'll notice at the bottom of the screen the command line is saying select the entities to delete. So let's do that. Let's just literally pick that line. We'll pick that line. And when we're done selecting entities, we must hit the Enter command or the right button on the mouse. And those entities went away. That's erase. You'll also find that command in the menu structure. And there are several other options, and we're not going to talk about them. They're a little more sophisticated erase commands, and they do have their place. But in general, what I've just shown you will suffice for the majority of your erasing needs. You'll remember from one of the first classes the way to select objects. If you had a number of objects and you wanted to get them all in one with one method, you could use what's called the windowing method. And if you window, which means click and hold the left button, and then actually, let me correct that. You pick the upper left corner. You don't have to hold the left button. You can let go of it. And then select the lower right portion of that box, and then select the left button. You'll notice everything that was within that box is now selected. That's using a window. What if we go from right to left? This is called a crossing window because we're crossing entities. Anything that this box touches will be selected, but nothing else. They both have their place. And as we get into drawings with more and more geometry, and there are specific areas that we want to erase, you'll see where one of the windowing commands will have some priority over the other. So let's erase. Move is another command that's used quite often. Select move. It's asking again for the entities to move. Now you can move anything, and you can use the windows like so. But notice I did not enclose all of these lines in my left to right window. It's still asking me to continue to select entities. It will continue to loop until you hit the Enter button or the right button on your mouse, telling it I'm done. But to illustrate again, we're going to pick a box and we're going to go from right to left. And I'm going to use a crossing window. And because this was a polyline, all I had to do was touch anywhere on it and it was going to go away. So all of those entities have been selected. You can tell because they appear as dashed or what they call highlighted lines. I want to show you one other feature that you can invoke at the command line that isn't well documented but extremely useful. And this applies to whenever you're being asked to select or pick entities in your drawing. This, what I'm about to tell you, will apply. So we have what I'll call a selection set already highlighted. Well, what if I made a mistake and I didn't want this polyline to be included in my selection set? Well, there's a way, while you're still in the move command, to get rid of selections. And you type the letter R for remove. Hit enter. And now notice what it's asking us. It's saying subtract entities from selection set. So let's do that. Let's pick that polyline. Okay, that's good. That's exactly what I meant to do. I only really wanted that text. But what if you want to add back in something else, like this line over here? You can come back down to the command line and you can type in the letter A for add. Hit enter. And now it's right back where you were before, saying select entities. So now I'll pick that. And now I have the line and my text highlighted. I'm done selecting. And now it's asking me for a base point. Now remember, we're in the move command. So it wants to know, where do you want to establish some base point for these entities that you're about to move? Well, let's say that I want to move this text relative to this corner from here to this corner. So the text will move up accordingly. Base point, that's what base point is about. And you don't have to select any geometry. I just happen to be doing that in this particular case. I've selected that corner as my base point, and notice the rubber band. You see the rubber band from our base point, and it's saying, okay, where do you want to go? They call it displacement point. I believe AutoCAD might have a different nomenclature at the command line. So let's take it to the end of, or this corner. So we've moved those objects. Let's repeat the move command, which gives me an opportunity to introduce another very important feature, and that is the repeat function within AutoCAD. Oftentimes, you will be invoking a command, finishing it, and then have to go right back into the same command because you need to do the same thing but maybe to other objects. Well, AutoCAD makes that easy. You would use the right button to press, or the equivalent of pressing enter. So let's do that. And it remembered that move was the last command that we were in, and so it puts us right back into that mode again. So that is very useful. If we were erasing and we finished and then we had to go right back into it, you just hit enter and it brings you right back into the last command that you invoked. So we want to select entities again, and notice it says give me a base point again. This time I'm going to just select arbitrarily anywhere. I'm going to pick that point right there, and you'll notice I can still accomplish what I wanted to. But if you had to move something, and let me do this to illustrate. Let's say that we need to move this line from this corner to this corner. Now that's a very specific location. Let's go back into the move command. I just hit enter. Select the entities to move. I'll pick that line. I'm done with my selection set, so I'll hit enter. And this time, for my base point, I'm going to select this corner. I'm using object snaps. And once I've done that, now the line is traveling with my crosshairs. You can't see it because it's right under the green crosshair. But I get close to the corner and we see the snap icon appear, and then I left pick, and there I have very accurately placed this line at that corner. So the base point is very important to you. For quickly moving text and whatnot, base point is, you pick wherever it's convenient for you. But if you need to move something precisely from one specific location to another, that is how you can do it. Now, let's talk about another command that is used a great deal, and that's the trim command. Let's say that we want to trim these lines back to that line. Well, we'll go Edit, Trim, and the first thing it wants to do is select the cutting entities. Think of it as the edge you want to trim to. So we're going to trim to that line. You could select more than one entity, but in this illustration we're just going to use the one cutting edge. Hit enter, and now it says select the entity that you want to trim. So we want to trim this line and we want to trim this line, but this is important. Pick the side of the line that you want to go away. So we'll select that, and let's say we wanted this side, this line, to be cut back to that line. We'd select there, and when you're done with the command, just hit enter,